derived from some experience which actually may I not knowing that, but it could have come on my subconscious part because we are living this life and we are learning so many things. For each of your sentence, I think many of the flashes that I have listened to would have been coming. Actually, I would not be knowing, but when I would recall in later period, I would say, yeah, this is. I will not recall it exactly, but it would be like something new, but actually has been derived some subconscious from past experiences and all that.
Let's look at the validity of this. First thing, you cannot, you said that next morning I wake up and sit down. And I have a creative thing about something that I saw in the night. Can you dream of something that you have had no experience of in the past? What you have not experienced, can it be present even in your dreams?
So actually I feel yes.
Do you speak French?
No.
Can you have a dream in which you are speaking French?
But sometimes we dream about dying, doesn't mean so we die in the past.
Can you have a dream in which you are speaking French? What is not present in your mind cannot be present even in your dreams. Whatever dream you have is somehow a modification of the experiences that you have had. It's a concoction of that. Something bit from here, something bit from here, and all that combines. There is nothing new. Second thing, you said that whatever anybody is saying is ultimately coming from some experience, so there is nothing called creativity from nothing. It is always creativity from something. That's what we are asserting. Let's look at it. A is dependent on B. B is dependent on C. If creativity is always from something, then everybody is dependent on somebody. Now, where would you then place the first one? Or do you want to say that there never is any first one?
Sir, I think we innovate when we are in need. For example, sir, in the complete world, first of all, when the shelters would have been made by humans. So in different parts when people would have not been communicating at all, and there was no such word like civilization.
Alright. And who was the first man who made the shelters? Whom did he copy?
Sir, it was his need. It was his need.
The need was for all the men in his tribe. Who was the first one who made a shelter? Who was he copying?
Sir, actually, I don't know, but because
You must know. You must ask this question to yourself. That is the only important question you must ask. The need was there in front of all 500 members of his tribe. Who was the first one who said, we can have shelters? You must ask this question.
For this question, I would like to say, human is a very greedy man. Is a very
All of them are greedy, all 500. Why only one person?
Sir, obviously I think so because if I am living in a place where there is no roof and still I am living it quietly, yeah, it's okay. But some greedy one would be saying that no, I need a shelter, I need a
Every
roof.
single human being is experiencing that need. Why does only one man come up with the realization that it is possible to create a shelter? Why does that happen with that one man? And why can't you be that one man?
If you talk about the history of creating a shelter, initially the man who sheltered in natural forms, and it came with an instinct. He कि अगर मैं एक क्लिप हैंड देख लूँ या अगर मैं ये देख लूँ तो because of the natural elements like rain, sun, etc., I would have felt the natural instinct to go there and watch
Yes,
it.
every animal does that.
And that is what is an animalistic instinct.
Yes.
Now, if you talk about the first person who designed the shelter or who
Who
made
designed it?
who made the shelter, so
Yes.
it was a design.
Yes, obviously. When you make it, there obviously is a design behind it. So,
It is a space.
Hmm.
So he must have drawn inspiration from those natural.
Why not those 500?
Because he drew inspiration from those natural forms.
Why not those 500? There are 500 men in his tribe. Why that one?
So you cannot say.
That's the question that you need to answer.
So how do we know it was just one person?
Or do you want to say that it happened simultaneously to 50 or 60 people?
It must have been a cumulative thing.
Ask yourself. See, it is very easy to hide behind saying that it was a group phenomena, but you need to ask yourself, are you not afraid to accept that I can be that one? And that's why you want to say that no. It's a collective thing. Nothing great is ever collective. Nothing great is ever really collective.
So the Nobel Prize collected.
So if you always remember legends, so they don't exactly remember their pictures or some people remember all the legends. So that
So I assume that those legends also have teachers. They are not like they taught themselves. Someone passed those thoughts to them and they read over it and then they became legends.
Something like this happened. There were 499 people who were alright, satisfied, thinking that this is the way our fathers, forefathers and legends have lived. They do have their legends. And they say that when my legends didn't create anything, who am I to create something new? Me, this small piece, and unless there are 40-50 people with me, unless there is a collective effort, who am I to think? They didn't even pay attention to their condition. And then there was that one who was not afraid, who didn't buy the argument that nobody did in the past, so how can I do it? Who didn't buy the argument that unless 60 people are doing it, how can I do it? He was not dependent. He was not a child. He was not old. He was really young. He looked at what was happening. He said, it's not difficult, it's obvious. If I look at what is happening to us under the sun, in the rain, it is obvious what needs to be done. And very simply, almost effortlessly, he created. He created because he didn't depend. He created because he was not thinking of the past. That when all my forefathers and all the great men of my tribe never raised a shelter, who am I to raise a shelter? He was not thinking of the past. And he was not thinking of the others. That when others are not thinking this way, why must I think this way? And then he made use of his knowledge. He said, alright, I have some knowledge and more knowledge can be accumulated. But what is certain is that this needs to happen. And out of that realization, out of that attention, out of that fearlessness, creativity happens. That is creativity. And that creativity applies as much to architecture as it applies to engineering, as it applies to medical science, as it applies to the entire expanse of life. In your moments of aloneness, in your moments of deep attention and fearlessness, you are creative, deeply creative. When you are not dependent, when you are not convinced yourself that I am small and incapable and unworthy and inadequate, when you are not deeply convinced that you are born to be a dwarf, then creativity happens. But if you are already very old, then all possibilities of creativity are closed upon you. I hope that is not the case. That must not be the case. Youth and creativity go together, and only youth can creativity can go together. An old man cannot be creative. An afraid man cannot be creative. A mind that thinks in terms of the collective cannot be creative. Only an individual can be creative. A crowd cannot be creative. Right? We'll come to a formal close of this session. But I'm here. Those of you who have questions left, and there are a few of you, may stay back and we'll continue. Alright?